That Life app is about making better decisions. A classic example is Thomas Jefferson's letter to Maria Causeway. When Thomas Jefferson was the U.S. minister to France, he probably fell in love with an English woman who was married. And to resolve the conflict between his head and his heart, he wrote a famous document called A Dialogue Between the Head and the Heart. And what I'd like to do is show you a framework for diagramming the differences between the way the head feels about what the head thinks about the heart, and how the heart feels about the head. And it's a framework because there's a certain structure to it, and if you follow the structure, it'll lead you to a certain conclusion. So this is really helpful to organize your thoughts about something when it's confusing or if it's difficult. In this case, I took the entire conversation or the dialogue that he has between himself, between his head and his heart, and I rated different things, like what was the purpose, for example. Or is he talking about risk or a cost? And a cost doesn't have to be financial. It could be emotional. It could be social. It could be physical, political, what have you. And the idea is that you take these basic variables that are related to cost and benefit, and you relate them to benefit. So here I have 6 basic benefits that are the defaults, things that people commonly find beneficial, like ease or economy or enjoyment. And what we want to do is show what the benefit value is. In this case, the head is saying the benefit is about a 2.4. And basically the head is saying to the heart that you've misbehaved, that you haven't been very careful and you got yourself hurt because you fell in love with a married woman. Silly thing to do. And so here what this is trying to show is what are the benefits that were gained and compare them to the costs. And then you can tell if you have something that's valuable by the cost-benefit ratio. Here it's very low, for example. The idea is that he didn't get much out of it. He got a lot of pain out of this experience, and it was very risky, and he was very biased. He really didn't do things objectively, and it was very expensive emotionally. And basically, the head is saying to the heart, there's no point in doing this and putting yourself through this hell. And if you look at only benefits, it doesn't help because you don't know what that is relative to the cost. So you need to divide the cost into the benefit. That way you can compare things that are different values. So let's take a look at the heart, for example. Now with the heart, Thomas Jefferson's heart responses are basically telling the mind that you're too calculating, you're too mathematical about this, you're too rigid, you're not dealing with morals, and basically we get a similar set of ratings. The benefit is 3.4, which is this blue circle, and basically this give and take in this conversation is mostly about risk. Basically, the heart is saying it's worth taking these risks to get hurt, and the head is saying no, these are foolish risks to take because if you just take a look at the situation, you're guaranteed to get hurt. So why do it? So that's primarily what the difference is about. The cost-benefit ratio is about the same. The benefits are about the same. So basically, he is negating the purpose between the heart and the head constantly. The head will make one statement and the heart will contradict it. So this point counterpoint kind of tug of war, going back and forth. It really boils down to risk is the primary thing. Now he's also clarifying his values, and there's a lot more to it, but I'm just trying to explain the general approach. You can list, you can make your own categories and list them any way you like. Basically what I did is I just went paragraph by paragraph. So here are the paragraphs right here. For example, here's the first paragraph and here's the last paragraph. And I just went in here and I just added paragraphs for like bias, for example, whenever I came across it in the conversation. So it starts out the very first sentence is head is talking to the heart, and it says, "Well, friend, you seem to be in a pretty trim." And then the heart responds. And then basically, as I read each paragraph, I just find the relevant parts and I rate them. And then I put it in the spreadsheet so you can see all what I've done. I could have simply just gone in here and just added things without putting it in a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is not necessary. It's nice and it gives you a way to double check what you've done. But it takes longer and you don't really have to do it. But basically all the different things, bias, cost, ease, for example, purpose and risk, these are all listed paragraph by paragraph and they're scored. And then they're all totaled together and they're averaged. And then you can see the relationship. This diagram is called a star plot. And basically what you're doing is you're taking things that are very different, putting them on a common scale from 1 to 5. That way you have a least common denominator and it allows you to see the relationships between the different benefits and the other side of the coin, which is like cost and bias or risk and purpose, the white lines here. So what you see is basically a set of arrows that point to extremes. So for example, the ease, for example, basically here the heart is saying, hey, you're making life tough on yourself, head, by being so restrictive and it's costly to you. So you can see here's another arrow, it's pointing at cost. So this points out the things that are remarkable. The things that are average, like enjoyment and excitement, there's nothing very remarkable about it. It's on this circle right here, the average of the benefits. It's not something you really pay attention to. Endurance is something that's important because it's pointing at a sharp angle. So if we go back and we take a look at the head, the things that are remarkable are enjoyment, for example. So the head is saying, hey, heart, you're just about having a good time. And you know what? Because you're doing that, you're taking a lot of risks. So you can see this pointed arrow here. You're really biased. You're not looking at things objectively. You're making life hard on yourself. You're not being economical about your emotions. And it's pointless. So this purpose right here is a 1. So you can see the things that have strong points are things that are outstanding or remarkable. So, and you can see how different the representation is for the head versus the heart. So we'll go back to the heart again. And so here you can see the differences. But the primary difference is the risk. It's about should you take a risk or not. And when you get hurt, how are you going to deal with it? And the next time, you throw yourself at someone's feet, how do you want to go about it? Do you want to learn from this, or do you want to be a little bit more careful, or are you totally willing to take the risk because the benefit is so great? In this case, it kind of says that they're roughly equal, and it's maybe it's a little bit more, maybe it's a little bit better to change, to moderate his approach a little bit more next time and not set himself up to get hurt so badly, or maybe approach it in a less emotional manner. But, falling in love with the married woman obviously is going to cause you trouble, especially when she's from England and you're the Secretary of State for the United States to France. It's just asking for big trouble. So that's how you can do it. This is how you can take things that are very different, like thoughts and feelings, and combine them together on a common scale so you can make sense out of it.